So, I know this is usually just an immortal question, but if you start an army, you start a fashion trend of wearing a uniform, lapel bling for like service earned, and so on and so forth. And then your body pops up at a later date and time, but everybody's known you to wear a uniform for eons and elsewhere, and can vouch for you, can write testimonials for you, and so on and so forth, that you are, or you have been, under service along with your husband, who also wears a uniform of some sort. Normally it's gray pants and a white shirt of late. I mean, he used to like the khakis and maroon with a little bit of gold, but I think that's changed. I think he's now over to navy blue. Are you what, in a St. Dominic's uniform? No, that we're playing Dominic the Donkey and I'm a naval orange. Okay, so anyway, what is this like? I already did intake. Before I was born, I documented it. Extraterrestrial, multiple lifetime achievement award. It's not rewarding whatsoever. I mean, you've given me nothing in compensation whatsoever. Stolen my time, my intake reports, my intel, my history. Left me in New York, dirty streets, sitting here in jeans, sneakers, and the same clothes I had on yesterday because I don't have a wardrobe. So, right. So, where do we say we work? And for what country, doesn't matter. I just did that whole Patrick thing. There's some little boy in London holding up a paper, and he's like, I'm being homeschooled. I just want to know how far these words will go. Could you tell me where you're from and just say hello back? I thought that was cute. Reminds me of myself and Svetlana in Russia and trying to mail postage there in my own handwriting from Russian Club where they documented that they really saw me. And I was really who I said I was. For everybody around the world that tries to help at one point. It seems like a lot of help comes from the east of like where I'd like to be living by this point in my life. I don't know why the Americans want to surround me by the enemy, stick me with parents bought by the enemy, and then ignore me completely when I documented it. It's in some of your reports. So anyway, so Patrick is from London. So I said, that's so cute. I said, okay. So I put PA and then I put a dash trick because it's a PA trick, right? Yeah. Phony baloney trick, whatever. So you're in London, right? So that would be, I said, Pat, I said, it's really funny. I said, I'm Duchess of New York. I said, I am CZARINA with a CZ for the U.S. and the USA. And I'm also Catherine the Great and Czarina, which is Tsarina for Russia, and I put the flag. I said, I have a whole lot of other titles, but why upset? Like he's only 5 years old. So I said, your queen. I said, I just want you to know that my people in America, USA America, have always been very kind and friendly to your people in London. I said, even though your local queen, being Elizabeth, has sold my people in America as Duchess of New York, drugs, pharmaceuticals, and a whole lot of lies. She's a liar, a thief, and a cheat. I said, but just so you are aware, Patrick, since you're only 5 years old, Czarina of both Russian Federation and the United Skins, being the United States of 50 postage stamps, and the United States of all over. I do not hold your 5-year-old generation responsible for all of London. That is a very real, ongoing issue with a kingdom, with a queen that's claiming a royal spot that she is not. She is not. I put everything that she tried to pass. Here's how this happens. It's not just her, but it's under her leadership. She wants to claim a queen crown and ignore me completely in the United States. So, but my family before me, actually, even though they knew in the kingdom. So when things came to Mother May I in United Skins, wherever we hid myself, in advanced room standing only when I had meetings and documents and so on and so forth. There's transaction reports, intakes. I don't remember all the words that we used, but we had a lot, depending on which department and which area of the world governance I needed to report on. So, in keeping order and trying to hold the seams from this bridge that I was at, I want to say, I looked over. Let's put it that way. In my area of operations, I looked over the ER meeting between a British official and Japan. Then there was one in China, and then there was one in Korea. I call them Chinese spies. I call the British non-facially disfigured, and Korea, China, and Japan all Chinese spies in all of my intake and documentation throughout all time in history, leading into the scope where I was going to be born as a baby and I was going to need help from Americans, Russians, Germans, and anything in the corridor between Russia and America, which is why I say that, because it makes a nice big circle. And Sphincter London, just plug it up because it wants to hurt everything in between. That's where the spy program comes from, is from London and Queen Elizabeth being sat in a spot she wasn't in. She took a royal partnership, ownership, that she wasn't allowed to have because she never acknowledged the Duchess of New York in 1978, her preceding family. So she stole a royal partnership. So with that royal partnership, she had to have spies for the corporations and for the partners everywhere to make sure that she was still leading and her secret was still being kept, and that the Czarina's family, the Duchess of New York, being Nicole Cateruzza, was going to continue to be buried when she was born, and nobody would know who to believe. So that's why we have an extraterrestrial actress studio with me being my visual self. All of my handwritten documents, there's audio and visual tapes in the operating room of emergency room for those that work in extra special areas, and I need you to move quickly on my behalf to take back what is mine. So what they did was they made a relationship between Britain being the United Kingdom, or claiming it in English, which America doesn't know any better. And I documented that on the farmers throughout space and time. And so they made themselves a London Bridge, I call it, a partnership, where as long as China, Korea, and Japan were in bed with silk sheets with Queen Elizabeth in the United Kingdom and all of her king's men, even though she doesn't have a king, but she claims she has king's men and like full authority, even though she doesn't, and I always dispute it and I document it as the only extraterrestrial from elsewhere Christ figure. That's where the Catholics and her protesting the Catholic Church comes from. So this has been documented all throughout space and time, but whatever. So as we go, now they're protecting her lies. America doesn't know any better. They can only understand English, really. They're frightened all fuck of anything that's not British or speaks English. They don't know why. I went as a Polish Jew princess. I said, I'm your American Jewish princess. I said, I wanted to meet with you. And they said, but you sound very American. I said, because I am. I'm being, my family's born here in America. I said, but I have leadership. I'm responsible for the partnership between this Christian nation, and I have some Jewish nation elsewhere that I am also lead under Poland and Yugoslavia and so on and so forth. I said, it's a very intricate system, the way that I lead with words. So for my American, I am your American Jewish princess. I said, I didn't want to frighten you. And they said, well, no, because they said that you're very and I said, no, I said, here's the thing. And I explained to my Americans what the Royal Telecom issue was of throwing your words, what the science consequence would be when it balled up into a sickness project between multi-generations, hospitals, pharmaceuticals. They're no longer going to be farming and making anything natural, homegrown. It's all going to be imported in, and then they're going to want to build hospitals. Then our kids are not going, they're going to send them to office buildings and really poor education where they're not going to learn anything. And then they're going to import their doctors who went for like a week's medical training into like and meanwhile our guys have to go for 12 years. I said, this is the degradation of humanity. This is what you do because you don't believe one woman who has the answers and who knows, who has the documentation and the reputation and the title, who tells you what needs to be done. And then you're like, well, who's this woman? How could she be everything to everybody? She's God. That's her title. She won't announce herself that way to you. She'll use one of her land titles depending on what meeting she's coming in for. But if you got to really know who she is, she's God. All area, space, and time. She's center size stem from advanced standing elsewhere. They're immortal because we always have to have one face that matches the male. They're Adam and Eve. They've been documented. They have to be the same. They have to have a history with humanity because when humanity breaks itself or is in trouble, who else are you going to trust? It's not some newbie off the street. No, Nicole's face is the same as it was in 1900s, in 1948, in 1978, but it was much smaller because she renewed and got new paper as a birth certificate as a human. So what Nicole needed as Duchess of New York, which is one of her cover titles for being an actual extraterrestrial, was for the kingdom to come scoop her up. Forget the fact that you left her with a Chinese emperor face speaking the disgusting that you sold 2 generations before. Anything in a uniform that verifies and can verify and knows better, come and sign, do whatever it is that you men do. Get me to where I need to be in Europe. I will still be American. It's not going to change anything. I still have creator goddess status everywhere in the OR and ER. That's what Viceroy is. And I have some serious issues within my lifetime. I was trying to quell early on by being recognized, but clearly you all take a long time to get shit straight. I don't need a CI to verify a source. I'm the fucking source throughout all area, space, and time. I am your only confidential informant. I give you funny titles and words in Crown Royale not to confuse you and your teams. Where you get confused is when you have a British royal that stole a kingdom from the actual confidential informant's family, and then they're in bed with the facial disfigurement that multiple areas saw and verified on their extra special advanced equipment to verify for each other. Poland, Russia, Germany, Yugoslavia, Albania, Romania, America, in several places in America, Canada. I didn't leave anybody out. There's a white city in Mexico. You understand? I didn't leave anybody out. All the important white kingdom that I needed in order to get myself to overthrow Queen Elizabeth's seat and get my position brought up to a place where now you know who I am and you bring me into the fold so I'm not stuck at 41 years old with 2 ex-husbands that should have never been. That's part of the royal telecom and the computing sickness and hospitals and medication that Elizabeth sold to the facially disfigured that Catherine the Great warned about. So did Queen Victoria, so did Queen Anne. Yeah, I happen to be the one confidential informant. I say the same thing to all areas, so all the big countries have the exact same roll call that is their private roll call that they trust. And then I have to inform them when a dispute breaks out. On behalf of Catherine the Great, on behalf of Queen Anne, this is what I saw in a neutral standpoint. I will speak on both behalf. I don't have to speak on Elizabeth because Elizabeth is the problem, along with her merry men of idiots that are selling America without them knowing, and half of London has no idea. So now what do I do? I'm still the one extraterrestrial goddess overlooking the entire guardianship. There's some serious shit going on, but every time China, Japan, or North Korea comes to their British asshole, which is what I called him, I'm like, listen to me. You might be white and look like me, but the fact that you speak to any one of those fucking facially disfigured assholes, you're now the asshole. So London will forever be Goddess Nicole Cateruzza, future Duchess of New York. It will be the Sphincter London because it's the ER trauma room that America doesn't fucking believe and won't know till it's too late. Got it? Great. So when I fucking disfame your people, suck it up, Buttercup. Because you asked for it. You sold my people, being the Americans, that I was bad because I was in bed with Europe and all Western Europe and Russia, and I could speak multi-language people, and they all appreciated me. So I could bring intel back to America, which then you guys disputed in London, saying that I wasn't reputable. Although all of Western Europe and Russia said I was reputable. So now I'm confused, British London Queen cunt being Elizabeth and your merry band of assholes. How long are you going to keep this charade on when you're selling like all the hospital beds in the future? All the kids that are 5 years old now in America, you already sold future hospital beds for their parents to China, Korea. Oh my God. The farmers, there's no more farmers. Now everything's, you realize that, right? And I know that a lot of the ones with money don't travel over because they don't want to stick it in America's face because they don't want me to make a big deal about what you did, Elizabeth. So anything in a uniform that forgot how to use a trigger finger to take out one woman to save your future children, I don't know what the fuck you were waiting for. I've been around for 41 years. I'm still fucking waiting. I was waiting for centuries before. I'm not a violent person, remember? I have to keep my neutrality on this planet as guardian. I'll tell you who to kill, but if you don't do it, or you switch the operation and you kill JFK and John Lennon and confuse the fuck out of Western Europe and other partnerships I have, just so this way you could keep the fucking cunt in the crown who's selling future hospital beds and pharmaceuticals and technology to everything facially disfigured elsewhere. Confusing everybody, saying it's oil. No, it's not. It's a bio oil. It's this greasy, disgusting, facially disfigured, smelling like fucking dogs. You realize that they eat dogs. I had a problem with one of my Polish. They're like, why do you call them? I said, they're dumplings. Like a sphincter dump. You take a dump in a commode in a toilet, like shit. That's what the facially disfigured are. They're dumplings. I said, and if they get it to New York, they're going to change it to a won-ton, because it's W-O-N. They're going to think they won something. A ton of shit is what they won, but it's going to cause future hospital bed problems for anything Polish, Yugoslavian, anything white and British, but Elizabeth's not telling anybody that. Every time they want a new toy, electronic toy, that I say no, they go, I'll just ask Elizabeth, she'll sign off on it. Like giving the kids fucking candy just to keep their leadership and not have to actually do anything special. I'll be right with you, Anthony. Hold on.